All right, happy to be joined by Billy Rutledge, Billy R Sports of KSR. Billy, how you doing, man?
It's great to be here, Adam. Thank you for the invitation. Happy to meet you in person.
Yeah. Like I said, when we were initially connecting, we got a lot of similarities. We're both Hilltopper alum. Have both spent a lot of time in Tampa. Talk to me. Well, first of all, how did you end up from coming from Tampa to Western Kentucky University?
Yeah, that's not the most straightforward path, but I'm originally from St. Pete, Florida, lived there about 12, 13 years, and then my dad got a job in Oldham County, Kentucky. So we made the move up to Kentucky, and talk about a culture shock going from going to the beach every day and living in a state that does not care about college basketball to coming to Kentucky where they live, sleep, eat, and breathe it. So
Yeah.
initially I wasn't a Kentucky fan. I wasn't a Louisville fan. They were making me decide who I was going to be allegiant to. So I didn't pick either. I went to Western Kentucky. And obviously, they have a great broadcast journalism program. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was doing play by play for my high school, South Oldham High School, back in the day. I got into that by just asking if I could help in the press box. And then there were people doing radio stuff, and I asked if I could be involved with that. So the worst they can do is say no, right?
Right.
So I went to Western Kentucky, had a great 4 years there, and then I got a job with iHeartMedia out of college, and then I guess you could say the rest took care of itself from there.
Yeah. I'm originally from Bowling Green, but when my parents split, I was probably around third grade. This was 94. My dad moved back. He is actually originally from Tampa. So I spent every spring break, 3 weeks in the summer, fall break, winter break, down just north of Hillsborough County. So very familiar.
Oh,
And
okay.
since the Titans hadn't moved here yet, so the Buccaneers have always been my team. I
Mine too.
definitely feel very strong connection to the Tampa St. Pete area.
Well, I didn't know it was such a vacation spot. I mean, everybody goes down there to those St. Pete beaches to vacation in like kind of the Clearwater area. So, I mean, I didn't recognize it when I was a kid. And unfortunately, I haven't been back a lot since I moved away. So maybe just once or twice. So I need to make some more time to go down there. But I am a huge Tampa Bay fan as well. Could not believe we got Brady a few years ago. That made COVID a little bit better. But my parents had season tickets when I was a kid. And
Mhm.
so we used to go to the games a lot. I went to two games the year that they won in 2002, 2003, and they were both to the Saints, and they lost both of them. So there's nothing like losing to the Saints and then Tampa eventually winning the Super Bowl. They did that again in 2020. So that's cool that we're both Bucks fans in that way.
Yeah. So I've been to four Buccaneers games. They've all been against the Titans in Nashville. The only
Okay.
time I've been to Raymond James Stadium was for the Kentucky Penn State Outback Bowl in 1998.
Oh, no. Wow. Did you sit
Yeah.
by the pirate ship?
No, I was on the opposite end, so I had a good
No.
view.
Okay.
But yeah, way back, Tim Couch. That's probably right around. How old were you in '98?
I was three. So I
There
was
you
born in
go.
95. Yeah. So
So
not much memory of all that, but I
the
know about
legend
it.
of Tim Couch.
Of course. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only time I've been actually in that stadium. But so you come up to Western. What years were you in Western?
I was there 13 to 17.
Awesome run. Awesome run. So
Hmm.
I started working there in 2012 as just a assistant for the basketball office. Ended up being a director of ticket sales there. Um, and what a great run for the next, decade of football, certainly.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but I think you were talking about the run that I was there, 13 to 17. They were playing such good football.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first year I get there, I apply for a scholarship. It's called the Balanced Man Scholarship. And it's a fraternity that's giving away money. And you just got to put your resume in and show that you're a balanced man. And
Mhm.
for the ceremony, Bobby Petrino came and spoke to us. It was a bunch of us waiting to see the winner of the award. Bobby came and spoke. It was his 1 year at Western. And as soon as he was done speaking, he walked right out the building. He wasn't going to wait for any award to be presented. But he was the catalyst of that. Jeff Brom was the offensive coordinator. My first Western game I went to was UK versus Western in Nashville. the second year in a row that they had played. And it was a hot day, but Western ended up winning that game. I believe it was the first game of the Mark Stoops era.
Yes.
Believe it or not, that was my first game. 13-17 was a hell of a run, though, for Western Kentucky football. I was there at the perfect time. I used that and was the beat writer for the Herald, or not the Herald Leader, but the College Heights Herald
Right.
in Bowling Green. So that kind of allowed me to stay close to the sport. I traveled to Louisiana and got to go to a game in Death Valley when Western played LSU, and I think 16 or 17. But man, I mean, the
Was that the
success Jeff,
monsoon? Was that
it
the
was, yeah, complete monsoon. Or I think Western would have won that game. I mean, they had a lot of talent that year with I think that was Dowdy's year.
yeah.
But the success that Jeff Brom is having is not by coincidence. I mean, I could see it just by doing the interviews every single day. That guy lives, breathes, and sleeps football, and can really work an offense, man. It was flea flickers, it was double reverses, it made it fun.
Mhm.
So Western Kentucky had a student-run radio station, Revolution 91.7, and I wanted to be involved with that as much as possible. And they had a sports show called the WKU Red Zone that was only 30 minutes long and was once a week. And when I got there, I did it with the guys for a year, and then I started to kind of take it over. I extended it from 30 minutes to an hour. I actually got it to become an accredited class so people could come and watch us and learn about what we're doing, and you could get a credit hour from it. So that was something I was really proud of. And that, continued my love of radio. It kind of directed me towards the career path that I wanted to go to. And then the local ESPN station gave me my own show. We called it Red Towel Radio
Mhm.
with Commonwealth Broadcasting on ESPN Radio. And I did that for a year before I graduated in the summer of 2017. So, it's amazing the support that Western doesn't get from the city of Bowling Green. Like, they are such a lower television market and they don't sell out their stadiums.
Right.
But the time that I was there from 13 to 17, man, I could not say enough good things about the people there, about the athletics. I guess the only thing was we could never get over the hump in basketball, whether it be
Right.
Ray Harper or Rick Stansberry. I mean, there was a drought there for a while of no NCAA tournament berths.
Right. So my first year working there was actually right after their last NCAA tournament appearance. So then we have all this success in basketball, or I'm sorry, football, and it's like, man, I just we haven't seen the success in basketball, even though we had some awesome event. We hosted Louisville when Rick Pitino was about to fight some
Yeah,
of our players.
I was there. Yeah,
We,
that
we
was
we had some great home events, but I left WKU my position there right during the midst of COVID, so I did not see NCAA tournament under while I was employed by WKU. So that stinks, but I got a couple bowl rings right behind me on my shelf.
oh, nice.
So
Here, I'll show you. I got something. I got a Jeff Brom, and this looks like the Bahamas Bowl
there you
bobblehead.
go. Yeah, yeah.
That's all in the same time frame. And then I ended up getting, since I've got all my memorabilia here, it looks like I've got the eyes
Dude,
red
that was
towel
the
here.
best red
So,
towel that we've ever
which made
made.
an appearance on College Game Day. So you
Yeah,
gotta love those things.
best red towel we've ever made.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But I've got several. I'll go to my grave with one of these things. There's no doubt.
But speaking of which, with that red towel, what about the helmets WKU's been producing over the last couple of years? Those are best in the nation, right?
Yeah, if you thought Kentucky looked good in those chrome domes, they got them from Western Kentucky. I mean, Western was rocking those chromes for a while, and now they've kind of transitioned away from it. I kind of don't like that. I do like the chrome, but like the little figures, the different position groups getting their own special
Hmm.
helmet. I mean, I don't see another school doing it like Western Kentucky like that. I mean, Ohio State may have their little stickers, but Western and their merch game has stepped up a lot since I left. I mean, I wish I was a student there and they had these things coming out, but it is fun to watch from afar.
I do like the Kentucky Chrome helmets, except we just never win a game while wearing those. So,
Or the black. Like when the black
or the
comes out,
black, yeah.
UK doesn't do very well in that either.
Yeah, so you graduate from WKU, and do you go to KSR right off the bat, or what kind of happened after that?
Yeah, so I'm at Western in 2017. I'm trying to find a job, and the best I can do is a fraternity brother of mine at Sigma Phi Epsilon just got a sales job with iHeartRadio. And so he was able to get me an interview for a part-time job, just doing the basics, running the overnight shifts, running the Louisville Bats baseball game. And that was all I needed. It got my foot in the door. But there were some questions from my family, like, you're leaving college to move back in with your parents, and then you're taking a part-time job that, may or may not have a future. I mean, there was a lot of questions. But I believed in it, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I started my own company. It's called Earbender Entertainment LLC, where I would edit podcasts for former athletes. So former NFL players, maybe NBA players that want a podcast but don't know how to edit, don't know how to publish. I would charge them hourly for services. And that, along with my part-time job, kept me afloat. I mean, that was the salary I needed to be able to live, even with my parents at the time. So I was doing the kind of the dirty stuff, like I said, bats games and overnight shifts and just whenever I was needed. And there was a certain need at iHeart for someone to back up Shannon the Dude on Kentucky Sports Radio. And I guess they had a tough time finding people to do that job. And I was like, yeah, send it my way. Now, I knew of Matt Jones and KSR. I did not recognize or know how popular it was at the time. So I started filling in for Shannon. But what I did differently was that I would just start talking at them. Like, they would be having a conversation and I would just say, yeah, I agree. Or no, I don't really see it like that. And I think that would drive Matt crazy. I mean, he would start screaming and say, Billy, who asked you? Nobody wanted you to jump in on this. How about you just keep answering the calls, things like that. The first day he was making fun of my haircut and the fact that I said that I could get Jennifer Lawrence's phone number, which I still think I can, Adam. I think people have a misconception that I'm going to take her out on a date. That's not really the case. Maybe we want to do an interview in the future. Hey, can I get your phone number, Jennifer? And it could work out just as easily as that. But I came in with an ultra confidence in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think everybody has that. It can rub people the wrong way. And I've done that to several people, but I knew this is what I wanted to do. So I stuck with it with KSR part-time. And then around 2019, they made me full-time at iHeart and moved me to Lexington. So this is the end of 2019. They moved me to Lexington. I'm in charge of a lot of duties on WLAP. I do make sure the news, the traffic, and the weather are all in there. Dick Gabriel has an afternoon sports show. That was my initial first job, was 6 to 8 p.m. on weekdays. And then COVID hits and nobody's allowed in the building anymore. So I become an essential employee as the only person in the iHeart building for the next 2 years. And my job description grew to putting on the Andy Bashir press conferences that he would do every day and just making sure generally things are working in the studios. Then I got the opportunity to run the UK network. The old producer, Tim Anstead, was leaving for a different job, and I was already based in Lexington training under him. Right. So I got the awesome opportunity to work with the UK Sports Network, Tom Leach, Mike Pratt at the time, now Jack Givens, Jeff Pecoro, all these guys when it comes to women's basketball, baseball, football, men's basketball. And that's still my day job today. Like, that's where I get most of my salary, is working with JMI and making sure these games are on the radio and everything goes well. So really doing that job, maybe like a year into it, the opportunity of the KSR-Preshow comes up. Matt goes to bat for me. And when there's an opening at 9 a.m. and the company wants to extend KSR an extra hour, I don't think Matt wanted to do a third hour at KSR. But he did lobby for me and Shannon the Dude to do our own hour. Mm-hmm. I think we were kind of going back and forth on the name, but we ended up with KSR-Preshow. And I tell you, Adam, I listened to the first episode not too long ago of the pre-show, and I had a tough time. Like, it was very cringe. The chemistry was not there with me and Shannon the Dude yet. I had always looked up to Shannon as he was somebody that trained me for the job. But Shannon was also somebody that when I asked him to do a podcast with me, he said no. He had other stuff going on. I was,
Sure.
just a part-timer at the time. And I never let him forget that, because we got paired up to do the radio show eventually. So yeah, so I mean, ever since really October of 2021, as I believe when that started. So we're over 4 years old now, the KSR pre-show, still doing my job with the UK Sports Network, and now really the general manager of KSR when it comes to, booking things like remotes and making sure the things behind the scenes go well. Just it's about being a linchpin and being hard to get rid of, right?
Mhm.
That's the best thing for your job security. And I think I was able to do that. Now, if I were to give advice to somebody, I would tell them to not do it the way I did it. Like, it is almost impossible to just get your foot in the door and work your way up. There's just not that many jobs
Sure.
available. So, like, the advice that iHeart gives me or would give new people today is to, like, bring your following to the table, and then you might get your own radio show. I
Right.
did it completely different. I was a nobody that worked with the company and then was able to kind of work my way up to the small following that I have right now with the KSR pre-show. But here's the thing, Adam. I think I just picked the right horse. Really, I got very lucky. I'm very grateful to work with Matt and Ryan and Drew and Shannon and even Mario now. These guys are extremely talented, and they were very successful even before I got there.
Mhm.
So, I think it was about picking the right horse, being available, being able to do kind of the little things right. And, over time, you prove yourself reliable, and if you're a hard worker, I think that almost anybody can succeed. So I've got to
Right.
call myself lucky.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been a listener probably since y'all came on the air, and just the chemistry that you and Shannon have, like a sibling rivalry in a playful way. I mean, y'all play off each other so well. That I appreciate y'all. I appreciate what you do and the time that you all put in. I know Shannon works like 28 hours a day or something like that. He never
He'll
gets
tell you.
a day off.
Yeah.
So, and he'll say you only work 1 hour a day. Uh, but no,
Yeah.
it's all in good fun, and you all bring some great content to what was already a great KSR platform. So I appreciate y'all. Tell me, so your first time working with Matt Jones, what was that like?
Well, thank you for saying that, Adam. That means a lot that you've been listening and have seen the growth of the show. My first time working with Matt Jones was tough because, you've got to stand your ground a little bit. You got to show that you're not just going to run away and not want to do the job. So that's what I did. That's why they couldn't fill the position, and that I could. I kind of alluded to it. He was making fun of the fact that thought I could get Jennifer Lawrence's phone number. And then he took a picture of my mullet, my haircut. And he's like, here's
Right,
Shannon the Dude's fill in. And like, that was interesting to see the comments, because there were some good. It's like, welcome to KSR, Billy. And then there's some like, who the hell is this guy?
right,
And there was definitely a journey for me when it came to internet comments and like what people said about you. I think it affected my family more than it affected me at times, where they would look at things said online and then compartmentalize it, or a failure to, and then bring it up when I see them again, or things like that. I've gotten much better at that over the years, but it was tough really the first year, just being a part of the show. There is such, and you complimented the chemistry that me and Shannon have. There is such like a little brother energy when it comes to me and those guys. I
mhm,
think we all love each other. We are a close group, and we even go out, and when we have dinner, we can talk about everything other than UK sports at times. Like, we can
right,
still connect on that level. But I definitely, you can't have thin skin in this business. Like, you've
mhm,
just gotta, I think that's probably one of my superpowers. If I could say I have one, Adam, is that I can laugh at myself and I cannot take myself too seriously. Yet I am over the top and very overconfident and will tell you exactly how I feel. But I did have one of my radio bosses tell me that when somebody doesn't have an opinion to what you say, then that's the worst thing that could
right,
happen, like the apathy of it. So like, if you have people in their car talking to the radio, like, that's not right, that's not what I would do, that's not the right thing to say, that doesn't necessarily mean you're incorrect in what you're saying. It's just you're bringing entertainment to the
mhm,
radio and you're getting people interested. And that, I think, is the key that KSR figured out. When I wanted to get into it, when I was doing Western Kentucky stuff, I thought I was going to be Colin Cowherd. I was going to do 3 hours a day. It was going to be on all sports, mainly the NFL and college football, and I would give takes. But what people care about more is what happened to you last night, or like, just these
Sure.
personal stories that can connect you to an audience. And that's why we can go to, these cities all across the state and have 50, 60, 70 people show up and show you pictures and tell you about their life, or tell you that, them or somebody they know went through a health scare, and listening to KSR was something that got them through. I mean, I don't think I realized, how big KSR was, or like the importance of the radio show and radio to people in their lives. So
Mhm.
like, that's been such a rewarding thing. Um, you take a little crap from these guys every now and then, but to see it, like when people come up and meet you or call in and say how much you've meant to them, it is truly special. So
Mhm.
you got to be able to laugh at yourself, I guess.
Yeah, and then bringing up just the Kentucky could have played Louisville last night and won on a buzzer beater, and Matt would lead off with something about standing in line or waiting in line for McDonald's drive-through
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatnot. Like bringing up those things. And I know you and Shannon do that too. It's like wait till you hear my story from what happened this morning or last night, and those things are the things that really connects you with the audience, and it makes you more personable, and it makes you one of us, part of Big Blue Nation.
Yeah, and I think Matt got that from Tony Kornheiser. He talks highly of him and kind of the podcast that inspired Matt. And I'll be honest, Shannon is much better at that than I am. Shannon can go into a whole thing about what happened to him at wrestling the other night, or the
Mhm.
8 hours he had to spend on set as an extra for this C movie that's going to be coming out. So like he's very good at, he's done it for 20 years, right? He knows
Mhm.
what the people want to hear. I had a tough time with that, and I still do. It's not always easy doing a show where you do no show prep, if
Right.
that makes sense. Not that I'm not researching the topics and getting ready for the day and having preparation. It's more about like that first segment, like you said, being more about our lives and just talking like we're at a bar or we're just friends.
Mhm.
And I think the pre-show definitely has a different vibe than KSR. You mentioned the chemistry that Shannon and I have. I think it just serves. It is under the KSR umbrella. I think it serves a little bit of a different vibe than KSR. And I'm really happy with how much it's improved, because, like I said, that first episode was rough, and I didn't know if I would find my niche as somebody that, can talk about Kentucky sports every day. As somebody that went to Western Kentucky and originally from Tampa, I don't have the lineage like Matt does, or,
Mhm.
being from Eastern Kentucky, or Drew from Western Kentucky, or even Ryan, who was born in Indiana but is a Kentucky transplant. These guys have such a connection to the audience and to the Commonwealth that I, probably doubted myself at times that if I could do that. But
Mhm.
uh, you know, people get to know you and they care. And it's funny, just the things that get responses. We could talk about a big win for UK that they had on a buzzer beater in overtime, and we'll get 5, 6 texts on the text line. But Shannon mentions there's a mouse in his garage, and what are we going to do to get this mouse out of the garage? I mean,
Right.
you would 300 people might chime
Mhm.
in on that text line. Um,
Or like, what's your favorite cereal? You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then somebody will scream at me and say, "I once choked on Cinnamon Toast Crunch. How could you like that cereal?" But that is like the common denominator,
Mhm.
right? And just to have that relationship with people I don't know, like these strangers coming up to me and saying, "Thank you for all you do. I've been listening for all these years." It's hard to describe, Adam. It really
Yeah.
is.
No, man, that's awesome. And again, just congrats on everything y'all have succeeded to do so far, and hopefully, big things to come. Tell me about. So we've got a lot going on right now. Kentucky basketball seems like they're dropping like flies, injury wise.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there? Is JQ going to come back at all?
Well, there's a viral conspiracy theory right now that the 49ers and all their players are getting injured so much because there's an electrical substation near their stadium. And so that
Okay.
they practice so much that I guess their bones are brittle and they get injured more often than the other NFL teams. So I don't know where the electrical substation is near Rupp Arena,
Yeah.
But we did have the Annabelle doll come to Rupp not too
Right.
long ago. I don't
Right.
know if we're going to clearly put it on that, because this injury bug has been multiple years, right? I mean, think about Mark Pope's first year,
Mm-hmm.
where you lose Kerr Kriisa and Lamont Butler, and Andrew Carr is constantly battling an injury, and Amari Williams has got a nagging thing. And so, I mean, you want to say that it's just basketball and it's just unlucky coincidence, but man, has Kentucky been hit hard with this injury bug lately? And you might as well just start recruiting 3-point guards at this point. Travis Berry left for Ole Miss. It's like, damn, you could have been right in
Right.
the thick of it right now. I understand guys want to leave for guaranteed playing time, but man, he could have been important right now. So, Jaden Quaintance is a tricky one. I think he's missed 16 of the 20 games at this point. He comes back, and then we hear about knee swelling. You can clearly see some of the parents of players voicing their displeasures online. So obviously people are skeptical. Shaden
Mhm.
Sharp didn't help any of these situations a couple years ago when he did what he did.
Right.
So I think that you got to think about Jaden Quaintance and what the end goal is for him. I think he wants to be an NBA draft pick, right? So I don't think the best thing for him is to go into the NBA draft with just those 4 games on tape, right? I mean, he missed a key rebound late in one of the games that he was
Mm-hmm.
in. Like, there was one game where he only had 1 or 2 points in 18 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
working back from an injury still. But I think a guy like that, a competitor like that, somebody that already came back from injury to play, wouldn't hold themselves out just because they're waiting for the NBA draft to come around.
Sure.
That's just the optimistic in me saying, because I'd love to see JQ back on the court. He is a great guy. From what I've heard, I have not got to meet him personally, but my fiance sold a mattress to his dad the other
There
day.
you
And so got a little inside stuff there. They
go.
seem like a really nice family. Um, but Pope just messed up how he constructed this roster. We talk a lot about the stretch 4 on the post-game shows, because when Cam Williams was in playing that stretch 4, you saw a noticeable difference. The
Mm-hmm.
paint wasn't clogged. Otega Owe was able to go one-on-one with guys. When Colin Chandler can hit a shot out of the corner, that opens it up for Owe even more. So,
Right.
I think Yelovich is such a key for this team this year. If he can become that guy, that Andrew Carr, then I think they can find the success. But that first half of the year, Adam, like, I think they were just trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. Like, you were trying to play with guys overcompensating for the Alabama games last year. You wanted toughness, you wanted
Mm-hmm.
physicality, and then you go out and you don't have that stretch 4 immediately available. You're starting major minutes for a freshman center in Malachi Moreno, who's been great, but I don't think that's necessarily the game plan, that he's going to be your number 1 guy. You had to do that because JQ was hurt. So I think
And
they
I
got
think
too many bigs
I think
too.
you all have mentioned before that it was almost an embarrassment of riches that Pope had so many options that he didn't know what to do. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying the team's better without Jalen Lowe or Quaintance, but limiting the roster and who you have to choose from, like it seems like these last 4 games, that kind of condensing the roster has actually helped.
Yeah, and just defining roles.
Hmm.
Some guy that's going to have to go into that lineup now is Trent Noah, as they have 5 players for 3 positions at this point when it comes to the backcourt. There's a lot of question marks, and I think the criticism is fair when it comes to Mitch and Pope. Mitch hired a guy that had never won an NCAA tournament game before last year.
Hmm.
I don't think that's the standard at Kentucky, but we were sold on nostalgia and him being a former Kentucky player. In a vacuum, I don't think you look at a hiring process and say, I want to hire this guy just because he's a former player. I think that's something that you would want to avoid naturally.
Hmm.
But that we had the press conference, the Big Blue Revival, I think everybody got on board
Hmm.
or off the bus during when that team had the title and everything
Right.
like that. So that was great. And then they had a roster that they just put together in like a month, right? Remember, Mark Pope is picking up Andrew Carr and his family halfway through from Bowling Green because they drove and there was a problem with the rental car, or he's in South America driving a stick shift. Like, he had to just throw these guys together last minute, but they were experienced, a veteran group looking to prove themselves. I think they had a chip on their shoulder. And then when they came in and they fit Mark Pope's outside shooting offense perfectly, you saw a lot of success initially, right? How many top 15 wins did they have? I think they tied a record or broke a record last
Right.
year. But just the roster construction this year, I think, really got them off to a slow start. And obviously, Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance, your two best players, not being on the court. That's probably the most amazing part, Adam, is that they're now having this success, and neither of those two guys are playing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully we can continue and get this win against Ole Miss, and then got some tough ones pretty much the rest of the way out. So hopefully Pope and the limited roster can figure that out. Switch real quick. I know we're going to wrap up here, but Will Stein, what are your thoughts?
Man, Will Stein is somebody that, I mean, I think you're taking a chance, but it's like you got an aluminum bat instead of a wooden one right now. Like you could absolutely hit a home run with this one because that's a guy that's highly respected by guys right now. He's maybe a quarterback whisperer, you could say, as somebody that's taught the likes of Dylan Gabriel and Bo Nix at Oregon and can hopefully continue that pipeline with Minchie, the quarterback from Notre Dame, who Kentucky got. For them to get three of the top five guys in the portal when it comes to the offensive line, I think speaks to a lot of Kentucky fans, just with John Schlarman and the Big Blue Wall being such a big identity of Kentucky football over the last 2 decades or so. So for him to go out and get those portal guys and address that need, I thought maybe calmed some nerves of somebody that didn't believe in Will Stein initially. And he's still got to go out and win games. But he was also the offensive coordinator for Oregon, who was just in the Final Four of the NCAA playoffs. So I was rooting for him to continue to show off Kentucky on the national stage. But I think that he's shown that it's time for him to get a starting job. So I'm kind of glad Kentucky went young.
Yeah.
They could have gone with a retread. I don't think Dan Mullen would have been the worst hire, but I don't know if you would have got that same ceiling with Dan Mullen that you're going to get with Will Stein. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, or the same energy, and just saying, how young Will Stein is, and as well as the guys he's hired, there's just that youthful energy that I think can really, I think they might have something. You've already seen it in reports. I know Justin Rowland had a column that was talking about just the energy recruits are talking about. That whoa, we hadn't seen that from Kentucky in a bit. So I think that the whole staff, just being a younger staff, I think that has huge benefits, and we'll see. They did great in the transfer portal. We'll see what that means for the current recruiting class, and ultimately what it means on the field next season with a horrendous schedule. You
Yeah.
know that they could be much improved and still take some L's, but I think that the energy is there. That's what we wanted to see. We didn't want to see the status quo with Stoops coming back. We wanted to see renewed energy, and I think Stein's brought that.
Well, we're humans, right?
Mhm.
And we had a little bit of this in the basketball process when Cal was in
Right.
year 13 or 14, when he had said it was a 10-year job, and maybe it is. But
Mhm.
you're right, the energy is something that would not have been there if Stoops was trying to get the guys back, or trying to get the fan base back.
Mhm.
Vince Marrow goes to Louisville, and then he's chirping, tweeting people on the sidelines. Hello, Nick Roush. Like, the
Right.
rivalry has never been bigger in those regards. But just to try to rehash another Stoops season would have been tough. It would have. So I think it was the right move. And, I think you have to give a tip of the cap to Mark Stoops for changing the buyout. I mean, it was supposed to be all paid out within 60 days,
Yeah.
and he was the one that extended it into years. So that guy's legacy, I think, changed a lot when he made that decision, Adam. I
Certainly.
think if he would have hung on for another year or two just to get every single cent out of Kentucky, I think even though he is the all-time winningest coach in Big Blue Nation history, I
Mhm.
think it would have been looked at a little bit differently.
Yeah, best coach in my lifetime. Like I said when we started, I went to the Outback Bowl. That was the biggest thing in the world at the time, and we were
Yeah.
7-5.
Yeah.
And then Stoops takes us to two 10-win seasons. Best coach of my lifetime. I have nothing but praise for Mark Stoops. But yeah, just like Cal, like you said, it was time. It was time for some new energy, new face. And well, it remains to be seen. But I think Will Stein's doing. He's off to a great start.
And you're right about the schedule. The SEC is going to be tough every single year, especially if we go to that 9-game and conference slate. But the Big Ten has won the last 3.
Mhm.
NCAA championships. So like they're starting to change the narrative about conference supremacy. So the SEC needs to get back in it.
Yeah.
We need to see our teams in the big game again. And why not Kentucky? I mean, that may be far fetched, and you've heard that saying maybe once or twice, but Indiana just won the national championship. You're
Right.
telling me Kentucky can't do something similar? Like Stein can't find his own Fernando Mendoza. He
Man.
can't bring in a couple guys from Oregon. I mean, it's not the same situation as JMU, 2 years of guys in the same system.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know if Kurt Cignetti's the greatest coach of all time. I think he just found what works in this new era of college
Mhm.
football.
Man, I don't like Indiana one bit, but I'm super jealous that, a doormat of a football program can all of a sudden win the national title, and I want that for Kentucky.
Yeah, and people may roll their eyes. You say, "Why not Kentucky?" But just like think about it. Under these circumstances, I think anybody, not only Kentucky, has a better chance of winning. It's because Alabama used to have three deep worth of players at every position that would play in the NFL. Now those second and third string guys go start at a different school.
Transfer
So
to Kentucky.
that's right. So like that's why maybe we've seen the dominance of the SEC go down a little bit, because we've evened the playing field for
Yeah.
some other conferences and other schools.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Well, I certainly appreciate you jumping on here and chatting, and hopefully just us connecting a little bit. Maybe you won't block my call on KSR so much.
Okay. Well, good luck getting into the post game show. If you're calling into that, that is the toughest show to get into
You
with
gotta
as many
make
people
you
as
gotta make
calling.
room for the kids, right?
Oh, well, see, the kids, they get by me. People call in and they say, "Hey, it's John." And then John gives it to little Maddie so she can talk on the phone. I get a lot of heat for that, but I just don't think kids are the best callers,
Right,
entertainment
right.
wise.
No, I'm just messing with you. You and Shannon have always been great whenever I've tried to call in. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate both of your shows, the pre-show and y'all producing the big show. And just keep it up, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Proud Hilltopper here.
Well, thank you, Adam. I enjoyed connecting with you today. And if I could give you any advice, it would just be to keep grinding, man. I mean, I think
Good.
that's something that it's lost, and especially this younger generation is the want to and the hard work that goes into a lot of it. So making this podcast and reaching out and doing interviews is something that I did as well. So best of
Yeah,
luck to
I
you in your
wouldn't I wouldn't
upcoming
call
call.
myself younger generation, but yeah.
No, 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 no. Yeah, the younger generation, they're still on TikTok right now. I mean, they're
Right. What's TikTok?
well,
Gotcha,
thank
man.
you,
I
Adam.
appreciate you,
Yeah.
Billy.